Hey everybody, welcome to the UGASports Live podcast. My name is Radi Nabulsi. I'm joined by Dayne Young and former Georgia Bulldogs Hall of Fame coach Jim Donnan. Not former that he's in the Hall of Fame, he's former Georgia coach. I need to say that a little more correctly. I don't want to say that he's been like in the Hall of Fame and then out again, but he's with us today, and we're going to break down Georgia's signing class. Normally we do this show Tuesdays at noon, but Coach, again, being the quarterback of the show, said, hey, why don't we do it Wednesday night where we could talk about all the kids that came in instead of trying to predict what would happen on Tuesday. And I really want the coach's take on all this because this is a hell of a class. Georgia right now is sitting at number 2 in the recruiting rankings behind Alabama by a fraction of a percentage. I mean, it's as close as you can get. And we still have, until February 2nd. So we'll see some stuff going down there. The Dogs pick up a big 5-star today. And it is just an absolutely loaded class. You've got to be thrilled if you're a Georgia fan. Kirby Smart pulls off one of the best classes he's ever had. And we're going to talk about it. First, I want to mention our friends, though, at Academic Brewing Company, Dead Soxy, Your Pie, and Athens Ford. They are sponsors of our show, and we'll talk about them later on. But, Coach, give me your overall impressions of this class.
So, at this point, though, the kid from Tennessee hasn't signed, and so once he signs, then that'll add to our count, right? And then Ernest Green.
They count the first 20 signees.
Oh, okay. Is that
so your top 20 highest guys? So when you get like a Chris Miller or something like that, then you might move up a little bit.
Well, what's that kid? Is he not that high rated? He's 4.
He is a 4-star, but you have to be a high 4-star to really break out because Georgia has so many good.
What about Green? What's he rated?
I'm not sure where he's going to be on there in that list.
Just checking you out here. Let's get going here.
Hey,
okay.
So I'm just saying you got to.
You're talking about a real infinitesimal. I mean, it's a really good situation, but I don't think I've ever been. I mean, I know I've never been around a secondary class like this one. It's just as far as length and skill and size and everything. And in the end, it kind of bit us in the foot because Kamari Wilson and Killebrew just didn't want to come in and compete against those guys. I mean, and you can't blame them. So you lose guys. But and the kid had his ACL, and that happened. But the general tendency, every time I've ever done one of these deals, and I used to do them after every meeting at Bud Smear or meet at Marshall or Oklahoma, and boy, you just fired up. And as soon as you go down there, it's on your ass about who you lost. I mean, what can you do about these people? So, we're going to talk about it tonight, but I feel like that this was just a tremendous class, a very good situation. I had a chance to be over there Saturday when a lot of those kids were here, and I got to meet a couple of them and talk to them, and just so impressed with their the way they acted, the way their manners. I mean, these guys are class kids. I'm talking about C.J. Washington. I mean, I'm telling you now, C.J. Washington. I don't know if he looks better than Nick Chubb, but he looks as good as Nick Chubb right now. Michael Williams and the kid Marvin Jones, both. Roddy saw the picture that I sent. Both at least a head taller than me, maybe even that. It couldn't be nicer. Just fired up about coming to Georgia. You just don't. I can't get this across. Fans that are listening, please listen to me. These kids want to be. They weren't talked into coming here. They want to be a part of this program. They know what is happening here. They see the potential here, and they know what Kirby's building in his 6 years. So. We can go over a lot of stuff, and people are going to, say what they want to. But man, oh man, the offensive line, there weren't as many studs as usual, but we got guys that are going to become players, and everybody's not a 5-star. Look at what happened with Davis, when he here, and so I think just the overview for me is that, boy, we're in a good place right now. We're in a very good place. Our kids are going to compete in this game. And now we got the prophet of doom coming on here. Blayne Gilmer is going to tell us everything's wrong with everything. But no, hey, Blayne's a good man. He did a good job on all this stuff and helped me out because I didn't know anything about recruiting. I just watched what he said. But let me just tell you again, Georgia Bulldogs, a national brand. I mean, you can walk in anywhere in the country. And here's the thing that I would tell any recruit. Let's just pretend I'm going to Dayne Young's house right now, and he's a kid from down here in South Georgia. And I'll say, Dayne, let me just ask you one thing. When you walk down the hall and you start talking to the kids, ask who's recruiting you, what's the school you tell them first?
Yeah.
Answer, Dayne.
I mean, from where I'm from, that's going to be Georgia.
That's what I'm talking about, man. You go in any kids and you tell them, and that's what they want to hear. Hey, they're just totally consumed with Georgia. There's a few guys you don't get, but you know how much I worry about the guys you don't get? I hope y'all got some water. Everybody in your house, go get a bottle of water and pour it through your hands and see how long it takes to hit the ground. That's how long I'm going to worry about Kamari Wilson. That's how long I'm going to worry about Killebrew. That's how long I'm going to worry about James. It's over with. James has been committed to Florida forever. You can't turn around Everett. Hey, how about Everett coming in here? How about some of these receivers coming in there? Thank you, Dan Mullen. Thank you, Dan Mullen. I appreciate you leaving. And you can talk about Corey Raymond going down there and all that. Hey, just remember this. Corey Raymond versus Kirby. Corey Raymond versus Will Muschamp.
No, you make a good point because everyone's like, well, you lost Kamari Wilson to Florida. Well, he wasn't committed to Georgia. Now he's a strong lean, and he probably told Georgia coach he was coming. But he had a year to commit. He had all year to do it. He never did. Georgia gets it. I mean, Florida gets it. Great. And like you said, Shamar James had been committed to them for a long time. But at the same time, you just took 3 or 4, well, at least 3, and then one into the 2023 class that you just snatched right away from Florida. So I think on the end of the day, you pretty much plucked who you wanted from not only their first class, but their second class, albeit you missed one.
Here's the thing, dear Roddy. You know, back in high school, back in elementary school, Blayne and Dayne were too young for that. You know, when you used to play Red Rover?
Yeah. So
they said, Red Rover, Kamari, come over. I don't want to. I can't play there. I don't want to. I'm in Florida and play where I can play right now, get my ass beat.
Ooh. There you go.
Well, then
he's a good player. He's a good player. I thought we had him, but, you know, I can't blame him either. I mean, you look at Singletary. Would you take Kamari Wilson over Singletary?
No, sir.
Everett?
Daylen Everett.
Hey, Blayne, come on in here, Blayne. Give us a little – introduce him, Roddy. Blayne's coming in from North Georgia here.
Blayne Gilmer's our recruiting writer at UGASports. He and Jed May do a good job. They tag team the recruiting stuff. So, Blayne, let me get your overall thoughts on this class. If you give us your break it down for us.
First, I hope my internet's okay. Do I sound okay? Because last night was a debacle. So sorry about that last night. But I think if you're a Georgia faithful, you have to be overly pleased with what happened in this class, because if I had told you 2 weeks ago that you were going to get Marvin Jones, nobody would have believed it.
No.
Marvin Jones,
Everett.
Yeah, Marvin Jones. Look, there were two defensive players that were seriously considered for the Heisman this year. What position were they? Edge rusher. Mm-hmm. Edge rusher. Those guys impact the game more than anybody else. Yes, you got to have secondary members that can stop guys like Jameson Williams, but guess what? If you got an edge rusher that can get to the quarterback and tackle can't stop him, the quarterback can't get the ball to that receiver like Jameson Williams. So I think a guy like Marvin Jones is huge for this class. Jaheim Singletary is that lockdown corner that is going to be put on a number one receiver. That's huge for Georgia in this class. And, there's also some guys that are sneaky, sprinkled in. Sean Washington is a player that will be versatile. He can go anywhere from – I've seen him play anywhere from a shade nose all the way out to a 5 technique in his career at Warren Easton. If you can play at Warren Easton, that's the same high school that Van Pran is from. If you can play at Warren Easton, you've got some clout. That's one reason that Georgia was interested in to begin with, is the level of competition he's played at. Trey Scott built a relationship with that young man, and I asked, what was it? Because Florida was coming. Speaking of Florida, they were coming really hard after Sean
Hey, what
Washington.
did Florida rank, Blayne? What was their rank in the SEC recruiting this year?
14th is what they.
Just wanted to make sure everybody knew that. 14th, number in your program, number 1 in your heart. Go Gators.
And if it were after the SEC expansion, I think it would be 16th, right?
Yeah, so they were 14th as it was a little while ago. They may have crept past Vandy here with a couple of these later ones, but we'll see.
Hey, Coach, you should know Florida's behind Marshall right now in recruiting in the rivalry.
Hey, go Herd, man. Herd's tough. They got no Coach Huff up there, and I think Billy Napier's good. I mean, but that's the one thing Florida right now. If you just look at their roster, how depleted it is with the transfers and the lack of recruiting, what done under Mullen, I mean, they're going to be transfer you. I guarantee you, throughout this recruiting process between now and February, they'll have at least 15, maybe 20 transfers, minimum.
Well, their best receiver, Jacob Copeland's in the portal right now.
Yeah. Well, everybody did, but
I
would disagree with you about this one term that I think it's just like, people used to talk about, well, he's got buckled shoes. He's really good. I don't think there's been a lockdown corner at Georgia since Champ Bailey. A lockdown corner, that is hard to say. That means that sucker nobody can ever beat him. I mean, maybe he is. And if he is, I'll go out there and shine his shoes every day. But lockdown corner,
there hasn't been a champ. I think there were spurts. DeAndre Baker had a year where it was hard to beat him, but he wasn't champ by any means.
Yeah, but I mean, lockdown is good. But Blayne, you doing a good job. What else for us? What do you think happened on? Why do you think Texas A&M got all these players beside that oil money they're putting on them?
That's that's it. And in terms of the NIL, they're able to do a lot of there with that at Texas A&M, and then also one win against Alabama on a CBS game can carry a lot of weight for a guy with a pitch like a guy who's a smooth talker like a Jimbo Fisher. He's a good recruiter in his own right, and he's also good.
Did a hell of a job against those 3 teams that had their second-year coach this year too. I mean, they really coached the shit out of them. That was great.
I like it. Coach has got the
Hey, I need to get off here. I'm too cynical tonight, but I
love it.
Kirby Smart, man. I'm Kirby Smart. Just go for it, man.
Yeah.
Call it like it is.
No,
we need that. We need that honesty, Coach. We absolutely do. And I do want to point out that Georgia has landed 5 5-star players in this class, and Jaheim Singletary is one of them. And, Coach has been around this. He taught me a long, long time ago. And I remember it when I was still a photographer. He said, I go recruit the players that if you take your wife out there, she can look out on the field and immediately point out the guy you're there to see. Doesn't have to know a thing about football, but you point to the one guy on the field, you go, that's the guy you're looking at. And I took that to heart. And I remember going and seeing a kid up in the Gwinnett area, didn't do a thing the entire game. No big plays, but we had him ranked super high, came to Georgia. What do you call him, Coach? Eat, ride, dress, ERDs. He just
ERW, eat the pregame meal, ride to the stadium and warm up, and then sit on your ass the whole game.
He did it for 4 years. And again, looked beautiful, but never did anything. But if you get Jaheim Singletary in a camp, that kid is different. That is a special cat. So again, and you have a fantastic defensive back class. I want to touch on those guys. You also have Ja'Cory Thomas out of Orlando, 6'1", 195. Julian Humphrey, where was he committed to earlier?
Florida. He was committed to Florida.
Yeah, so one of the fastest guys in the class, Julian Humphrey, a DB out of Houston, Texas. He was committed.
You have to stop hating on Florida so much. They just began recruiting season about a week ago, so
they're new to this.
Yeah, but they also, and then you got Dalen Everett. This kid was committed to Clemson. I went back and looked through our photos and stories of him. No one's hardly written about this guy. No one's taken any photos of him because he's been committed to Clemson so long, out of IMG. And a few days ago, he decommits, and now all of a sudden he is a signee at the University of Georgia. That ain't too shabby.
We wrote about him on June.
We're building something out of IMG. I mean, you look at these guys, Nolan Smith and And these guys, I mean, and the word of mouth is good down there. I mean, these guys are going to treat you right all of a sudden. But, it really is interesting what happened at Clemson with Brent Venables leaving and how many guys decommitted, and at Georgia with Dan Lanning leaving and how we were able to keep this class together. I thought that was pretty salient, really the only guy who, any way you look at it, Killebrew was a signee, a committed guy, but nobody else committed. Did we lose? Did we?
No, nobody that was committed.
Lost Tyree West, but he's been gone long before Lanning.
Yeah, that was a number. That was a numbers deal, though. I mean, good for him. I mean, Florida.
I'm just saying from the national media will say that.
How many guys did they lose today? I know. I was hoping one thing because Radi had it right, and he went out on a limb when I'm gonna give him some love here because everybody busts his balls all the time. But I'm just telling you right now, Radi went out on a limb about Travis Hunter several weeks ago. He also said the same thing about Williams, that he was going to flip. He said that Travis Hunter was going to flip, and everybody went crazy. You wrong, Radi. You wrong. Flip. So Radi, you're right. So it doesn't make any difference. But we were in that ball game,
Spot, yeah.
and old prime time. This is what happened here. I'm just going to give you the phone call, okay? Because I've been practicing this. So, hey, Coach Saban. Yeah, this is prime. Listen, some of that money on the Affleck commercial. Can you work out some of that for one of my players like you're doing for yours? And I mean, not that you do it, but
no.
You know how this NIL works. We're just getting it in Jackson State. And can you help me talk to these producers where we can get some for this kid over in Collins Hill? He's number 15, and he really is a good player. And I think he could help Jackson State. So, okay, how much do I need? $1.5 million. Oh, okay. Thanks, Coach. I'm counting on it. Appreciate you helping me.
Well, Dane, go ahead and rip that out. Go ahead and put it on YouTube. That'll be a.
No, that's not on YouTube. You don't put that on there, Dane. Don't do it, buddy. It's the people that watch this tonight.
But it's so tempting.
So I want to go back and touch on that. I did say he's going to flip. I said he'd flip to Georgia. I got a lot of hell about it, but it's a bold prediction. It turned out to be half true. He did flip, and everyone said, "Oh, this kid's been committed there for 2 years. He's going to FSU." I'm like, he's not going to FSU. He's coming to Georgia, and Georgia was in it. I do want to give credit to Blayne and everybody on the staff that did research. Jed and Trent and Ben and our guys at other sites. They looked into this over and over again, and they're like, "There's something here. We don't think it's going to happen, but there's definitely something here." And then we found out that Georgia was absolutely in it. I think that losing that last visit weekend would have helped Georgia. But when you roll in with $1.5 million, that everything, Coach, this is a different world now.
Yeah, it really is. And I was making fun of it, but you got to give Prime a lot of. Prime can do it now. I mean, he's got that swagger. I mean, hey, they did good this year, and he talked about I'll get you to the league and all that. And it's kind of this guy's going to be. I mean, he's a good player, and he's going to do well. And the other thing I did, sometimes when you live alone like I do, I got terrible sleep habits. I put on the website and I read about what's going on, read what Blayne's saying, watch Film Don't Lie with Dayne Young and Brent.
That'll put you to sleep.
And then last night I put on this some recruiting notes by Radi Nabulsi. I said, this has got to be good. This is going to be really fun. Is this trick or treat? Radi Nabulsi talking about recruiting. Are you kidding me? I said, this will keep me up. And then I saw where he said, well, more than likely, we're not going to get Wilson. We're not going to get James. We're not going to. What else did you say? Because you were right, you rascal. What did you say?
I said that there was a toss-up with Marvin Jones because you didn't have a coach.
Well, it was toss-up, and that's why we got him. We finally got him, but that was right. What was the other one?
I said Shamar James and Kamari Wilson were trending towards Florida, and they did right. I said Dayne Bowie is not going to flip back to Georgia.
And did you say anything about Killebrew too, or not?
Yeah, I said Georgia Killebrew doesn't want to come play here. I mean, he's got a torn ACL, and I don't mean he's a good kid.
All right.
We like him.
So go ahead. You're off the show. There's nothing you can say right after all that. That's you're off the list.
I said he's not going to come here, and Dayne Bowie is not going to flip. Although I'm sure there were some talks there. I did want to get Blayne's take on Kirby Smart mentioned that this was a down year for offensive linemen. Coach, you mentioned it too just a second ago, and Matt Luke's taking kind of a hit. Like, why didn't you get Elijah Pritchett? Why didn't you get these guys? But I can't think of like 3 or 4 just absolute monster offensive tackles. But Georgia got some hefty boys in there. Now, Blayne, if you would give us a quick kind of breakdown on some of the beef that's coming this way.
Hey, before you do that, I just want to interject, and then he tells me, okay, this is why we didn't get him. This is why we didn't get some of these linemen. Amarius Mims, Broderick Jones, Cedric Van Pran. I mean, just keep on saying all those guys we got in our program is the same reason why Kamari Wilson didn't come.
And Killebrew.
So go ahead. I think we got some guys that are going to develop, though, don't you, Blayne?
I think Aluba is someone that's very underrated in terms of being that big and that skillful, and then also Jacob Hood is a mountain of a man. When we were there at the Rivals 5-Star Challenge, he just dwarfed some of these guys like LT Overton, who's the number one, was formerly the number 1 player in the 2023 class. They were going up against each other, and he's just humongous. Like, he just couldn't get – he's 6'8". The guy's huge and moves well, bends. He can, Coach Donnan, he can put his foot flat on the ground when he's getting in his stance, bending in his ankle. It's not like the heels popping up. I mean, he's got good flexion in his ankles and in his knees. He can bend, he can move. And then, of course, Georgia's still trying to land Ernest Green, and I think they've got a good shot to do so, but we won't find out on that one until the All-American.
Was that a check mark?
Yeah.
So Ernest Green, did he get Drew Bobo and Scruggs?
Double check.
Griffin Scruggs.
Double check.
Griffin Scruggs is a guy he's got to get in there and develop more strength wise. But when you talk about, watch Grayson play several times this year, he competes, and that's what you want out of offensive lineman. A guy who plays the game with a little bit of that nasty streak, and that is Griffin Scruggs. He plays hard.
Read my lips here, Dayne, because I want everybody to read my lips, because I'm tight with Mike Bobo because he played for me. I care about him. I know his son, and I was trying to figure out what the deal was on his son. So I called up 2 coaches that I have tremendous respect for, that have no contact with me, knowing why I was asking about him, except I figured it out pretty quick. And both of them said he was a take. They said he could play center. He had good feet. He had a lot of upside. He can move. He really wants it. He's very intelligent. And that's all I needed to hear. So let's don't worry about Drew Bobo. He'll play. Do you really think that Kirby Smart is in a position with all the scholarships that we can hand people, he's going to give a scholarship to somebody just because it's his friend? No. Not going to happen. He's not going to give a job to people because of that. He's going to give them because it's who he sees a vision for him. So, but I wanted to put that stamp on the fact that, I wanted to make sure that if I was talking to anybody about him, and then I watch the tape on him, then I watch him play basketball, which y'all know I like basketball.
I like basketball players.
To figure out if a kid can move or do something. I remember when I went to see Jonas Jennings, the first thing we did was shoot foul shots. I want to see what kind of release he had. So, just see if he'd compete with me, see if he could shoot free throws with me. Hey, it's just and it was cheating too. You're not supposed to work a guy out, but we were in the gym, we were just having fun. But there's the point. This kid can play basketball. He's got a legacy. He's a Georgia. He grew up with This is a lifelong dream. Come on.
I have coached against that bugger. I can tell you, he's a badass. He threw my son around a couple of times. So,
hey, Coach Donnan, you'll like this. Speaking of Florida, 7 minutes ago, Emory Jones enters the transfer portal for Florida now. So,
Emory, well, that's good. Somebody will pick a good quarterback. Maybe Auburn can take him. I don't know.
I don't.
The thing today to kill me is that Paul Feinbaum had Brian Harsin on there today talking about what a great recruiting year they were having.
Okay, well, they did go from 41st to 15th.
Well, I guess they did then.
One potential, I guess, murmur from one of these things. If Tank Bigsby, he's told Auburn he's coming back. He does this every year. We'll see. If he were to enter the transfer portal at some point, one of his best friends is Emory Jones. So that's one less sticking point to go down to Gainesville, which
he's not going to. You talking about Tank?
I'm talking about Tank Bigsby.
Tank's out of the portal now, and he's back at Auburn.
He never officially entered.
He's playing hokey pokey with it.
But it's still Tank Bigsby. And so this time of year, until I see him play another game for someone, I'm going to assume there's always a shot.
Hey, I'm just going to tell you, that kid's going to get some good NIL stuff from somebody.
Yellow fella.
To come play for him because he's a player. He's got tape.
Yeah.
You can see where he can make the pile move. He's fast. He's going to go somewhere and be a stud.
You should get the U.S. Army to sponsor him with the NIL thing.
U.S. Army?
Yeah. Be out there one of those tank guys. I'd love it.
I want to say thank you to Llama 1028 for the super chat. Blayne, we have Jed here in the back wings. We're going to bring him in. But do want to give you the opportunity to make a plug for your recruiting show that's on the same channel. I think most people probably cross over with the audience, but want to give you that shot anyway.
Yeah, rumors versus facts. We do it typically. It's been on different nights here for a couple of weeks for things, but Monday nights 8:15. Join us live here on the YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you get notified anytime we go live.
Hey, you got Jed coming on. You want me to drop off and let these two gurus be on there or what?
No.
I'm heading out. I got some kids to go take care of. So
no, we can't have Blayne on here too long. It's too much FaceTime for him. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Before we we'll drop Blayne out there, if you would, I'm going to bring on our one of our sponsors here, Dead Soxy. They are a great sponsor of this podcast. They're a great sponsor of our website, and we appreciate having them around. And I know a lot of people think that they missed out on the Cyber Monday deal, the Black Friday deals. There's still something going on with our friends over at Dead Soxy. They have a 20%, 30% off, and 40% off tiered discount program they're doing with free shipping. So if you spend $60, you get $20 off. Spend $120, you get up to over 120, you get 30% off. Spend over $240, you get 40% off. So they have some really big deals, and they get the free mesh bag with that stuff. So just go to deadsoxy.com. You can see it right there on the site, on the page. It is they have great stuff, and they also have a lot of their. I always like to show them the college stuff. So if I know this is a Georgia-centric show, but if you have friends or into LSU or Ole Miss or South Carolina, Texas, any of those, grab some of the socks for those college fans in your office, in your family. Try them out. Our friends at Dead Soxy. And I also want to mention our friends over at Your Pie. I know a lot of people are doing they're getting ready to make a really big Christmas meal. You can't always eat that heavy. So when you get a chance, join in our friends over at Your Pie, get a custom pizza, get the sandwiches that they do, get the salads they make, the custom pastas, the gelato. That stuff is fantastic. They even have brownies in there. You can go sit down, have some nice beer. They do a lot of local beers. So especially if you can order on a Tuesday, use the app and get double points. You'll get free breadsticks really quickly, free pizzas, free sandwiches. Those numbers add up really fast from our friends over at Your Pie. Check them out. Also, they are huge Georgia alums and big fans of the program. I mean, big fans of the school. They also like the program, or they wouldn't have been advertising with us for 6 years. So shout out to Drew and Natalie French over at Your Pie. We got Jed May on us with us. Jed, give us your thoughts going through your first real signing day.
Yeah, it's been fun. Radi, we talked about this last night or yesterday afternoon that how early signing day goes can kind of cloud people's perception of how the overall class is. And you look at today, Georgia missed on Shamar James, missed on Kamari Wilson, whatever. You look at this class, it's still, I think, sitting at number 2 in our rankings right now, or 3. I mean, this is one of the top classes.
Number 1.
In the country.
Excuse me, it's number 2, but just by a fraction.
So point is, this is still a really good class. Obviously, would Kirby Smart and them guys like to have added Kamari Wilson, Shamar James? Yes, obviously, but this is still a huge class. Marvin Jones, I think you could debate this, I guess, with Kamari Wilson. But if you're going to have if Kirby Smart and them could have chosen one guy to commit today, I think they maybe would have chosen Marvin Jones, just because he's such, like Blayne was saying a minute ago, those edge rushing guys affect the game in a way that few other positions do, especially on defense. So it's a great class, and overall it's another great class. And the signing day didn't necessarily go how a lot of fans would have hoped, but don't let that cloud your perception of what's another great class for Kirby Smart.
One thing I wanted to ask you, Jed, because I've enjoyed so much your interpersonal relationships, your interviews with these guys, and your ability to go out and talk to these kids on the road. And I was mentioning to our fans about the kind of caliber of kids that we got coming in. Just say something about don't you feel like we got a lot of classy kids coming in here?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, these kids, a lot of these kids that I talk to, I mean, they're really good kids. I mean, Gunnar Stockton, that's not necessarily especially, but because, I, like Roddy said, I started this job in June. I hadn't really met any of these guys, and Gunnar Stockton, he hadn't gone to camps, and he's hard to get on the phone. So I kind of thought that he was, an aloof quarterback, whatever. I mean, throw whatever stereotypes you want out there. And I go up there and talk to him at Raven County. He's a quiet kid. He's a mountain kid from Raven County. He's real quiet. He's got a goofy little mustache. Like he's a good kid. And I was not surprised, but I was just like, oh, he's not a, stuck up, 5-star quarterback at the time. So him, the Nylon Morissette,
Oscar Delp,
Cole Spear, Jaheim Singletary is another guy. You talk to him, he's another guy hard to get on the phone. He's not very public with his recruitment stuff. And you're going to talk to him in Jacksonville, and he's a nice kid. The second time I went down to watch him play, they beat Trinity Christian, who actually just won a state championship. And there was a huge celebration for him at Riverside and in the stands and interacting with other students and celebrating stuff. And there's just a lot of good guys, like you said, Coach Donnan, that a lot of good. And that's what Kirby said today. He was asked about several different position groups. What do you look for and all that kind of stuff. And every time I think he was asked about a position group, character came up.
And Malachi Starks and Jalen Walker.
Oh, Malachi Starks.
Yeah, I mean, those are two. I mean, I had a chance to meet both of those. But the other thing is, you just got to give Coach Muschamp and Coach Adai a lot of. Here's two guys that weren't even at Georgia until last February, probably, and just their impact, along, of course, Kirby being a head coach that works with the secondary, just unbelievable way that they were able to go out and bring these. You flip Humphrey, you flip Singletary. Those are 2 5-star guys that were going to other places, and then within 5 months, you flipped them back to Georgia. I mean, not back, but to Georgia. Just for everybody if somebody's been on a different planet and doesn't cover, Singletary was going to Ohio State, the script O, or whatever they do. He was going there, and he flipped to us. Humphrey was going to us, and those are 2 guys that are going to be playing on Sunday. Those,
Dalen Everett was a Clemson commit.
Well, Everett, the same thing. I mean, is that Death Valley Clemson?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the team that's been in 3 of the last 5 playoffs.
Yep.
Is that the same team?
Absolutely.
The University of Clem, CLEM. That's it.
You just took one of their absolute best.
Yeah, they added. It used to be the University of. And then they added S for chivalry, O for honor, and N for knowledge.
Hey, can I give y'all two more people in this class, kind of connected to this class that I really like, and I think Georgia fans will probably end up loving if they're on Twitter as much as I am, and that is Oscar Delp's mom and Michael Williams' dad. Those 2 are going to be they're just so supportive of their kids.
Is that his dad or granddad?
Is that Twitter, I think it's his dad.
Well, his granddad came up with him to the visit. So is it like
Jed,
Johnson?
you might know better than me.
Is his
John
name
Johnson?
Johnson?
Yeah, John Johnson's his dad, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
I knew Jed would know that, but so Jed, let me just ask you this off the beat question here. What was the most harrowing thing that you had to do that our invaluable controller Radi sent you to do? Did you ever feel you were ever in a life or death situation in recruiting, or was there any situation that really put you where you weren't, like you had to do an interview, you think you're going to get it, or you went to the wrong place? Or just tell us the most interesting recruiting story you ever got to.
all right, so I got a life-threatening situation one. So actually, the first time I went to go see Jaheim Singletary play, they played at Terry Parker High School, and in Jacksonville. I don't know anything about Jacksonville, other than that's where they play the Georgia-Florida game for now. So I go down there, and at halftime, I start talking to these guys that work, or they had Terry Parker shirts on, and this one guy was like, "Yeah, I'm an alum, and we're trying to build the school back up to where it was, and all this kind of stuff." I'm like, "Okay, dude, cool for you, whatever." And he's like, "Yeah, right now we're kind of best known for having 2 people shot at a football game." Oh, really? He said, "Yeah, about 4 years ago, we had, there was a fight out in the parking lot. Someone got shot. And about 10, 15 years ago, this little kid in a band uniform, someone came up and tried to rob him, and he got shot too." It's like, cool. So then I texted Radi, and I was like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna go right back at the hotel later once I get out of here." But no, it's been, I mean, in all seriousness, it's been really fun just driving around at this place and going to see games, because like where I'm from, shout out to the Madison County Red Raiders. Like, it's not a huge, people around here care about football, but the football program's like not great. But like I went to Calhoun last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess, to see Cole Spear, and the place is packed, and people have got the like cowbells, I guess, and all this kind of stuff. And I told some woman there, I was like, "This is the greatest or the coolest high school football environment I've been in." And I'm in environments like that all year long. And on top of that, seeing really good kids play. So I don't know. It's been fun. It's been a crazy year. And, I appreciate all y'all for, bearing with me, because I don't have the, I haven't been in recruiting as long as Rowdy and all these guys have, but I'm learning.
Let me ask you this technical question here now. And this is for you to analyze this. This is from that movie, Analyze This, Billy Crystal. I'm Billy Crystal. So if you had the eyeball test on CJ Watt or Shamar James, which one would you think passes the eyeball test?
I don't know. I really like
CJ Washington. He's coming to Georgia.
yeah, true.
It's not a trick, but I just think there's a lot of difference between the way the two look right now, don't you?
A little bit. I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. I haven't seen a ton of them, but I think CJ Washington is a guy we look at, not sounding like Chris Collinsworth. It sounds like a guy. Anyway, he's a guy, it's kind of up in the air. Maybe could he slide outside?
I'm just talking about on the hoof, just looking at him as a man.
Off the bus, Jed.
Oh, okay. Off the bus. Okay. Oh, Shamar James. I went to see him at Faith Academy, and he walked in. He walked in, and he had, at the time, it was a Thursday, but they had a game that night over at Faith Academy, and he walked in, and he was, built. He had his jersey on. That looked like a dude that would light you up if you tried to run up the middle. So, given that I haven't met CJ Washington in person, I'm going to give it to Shamar James.
Okay, well, I probably shouldn't ask that question on this show, because I saw them both, and I didn't think there was any doubt about CJ myself, but
Cedric, if we see CJ in the weight room, he lifts with Nick Chubb. He looks like a brick.
Hey, well, they got a good player. He looked at who we got more than anything, and the fact he was already there. That you interviewed him, don't you think that's what got him over to Florida?
Who, that Shamar James?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, give credit to Billy Napier. I mean, right? Because this class, Florida's class, I mean, Blayne or Dayne, one of y'all mentioned a minute ago, they're 14th right now. They're behind they're last in the SEC by a lot.
Clark Lee's doing a great job.
Clark Lee is doing a great job. Got a lot of respect for Clark Lee. But I mean, for him to come in, and I put this on Twitter a little while ago, the class is what it is right now. But for Florida to land Kamari Wilson and Shamar James today, two guys that A, are really good football players, and B, you keep them out of the hands of your top division rival. That's a good day. I mean, that's about as good as today could have gone for Billy Napier and the guys.
Yeah, that was their best case scenario.
Absolutely.
But they also lost some other. Name the guys that they had committed that we got. Humphrey. Who else?
You take Julian Humphrey, C.J. Smith, coach, a wide receiver who runs a 10.28 100-meter dash. This is a guy that has Arian Smith speed. He has one of the fastest 200-meter times in the state of Florida as well. So he was a state 100-meter champion last year and the state 200-meter champion last year. You bring in Julian Humphrey out of Texas, who was also a secondary guy who was committed to them, who's also a track star. You pull him as well. There was a third guy, if I'm not mistaken.
Radi, I wanted to ask you about Smith real fast.
Raymond Cottrell, 2023 guy.
Right.
That you also took.
Do you know if Smith has any like recent injury history? I only say that because a lot of the guys for Georgia that are also like track guys, and I'm saying like into college track guys, just been some injury history. And Arian Smith is great.
You got to typecast that thing. The thing that happened to Arian Smith's feet. I mean, how many times did the guy get kicked and break his leg? I mean, he had a stress fracture and he wasn't really healed enough, and he got kicked and he hurt it again. But I don't know that that's anything to do with track. But I'm not arguing with you. But there's sometimes those guys are a little, sometimes those track guys church to practice. You're right. But
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm just like, I know the instant thing is if you can get, these guys on the field together, you just think about the speed if you have them both running go routes, one on each side. And I get that, but they got to get on the field together. Arian Smith played, 20 plays in 2 years for Georgia.
yeah, well, he had a knee injury, and you gotta say he and Milton both have had luck, that's for sure.
He had some rough luck, but this is also a guy who he came back from that injury to run a 10-10 in the SEC NCAA qualifying. So it's one of the fastest times to date, in that entire track season last year. So he's healthy. He gets a minor injury there, it's exacerbated with a freak. We've had some freak injuries this year across the board. I mean, Darnell Washington, one of the biggest guys on the team, he gets his foot stepped on somehow or does something, breaks a bone in his foot. And then Tyke Smith, one of the smaller guys, has the exact same injury. So it's just been bad luck. So anyway, I did want to touch back on something Kirby Smart said about, because Julian Humphrey made me think of it, Coach. He was talking about this being a big secondary class. And I think if he had his way, he'd have signed 30 guys in the secondary because he absolutely needs them. We saw that was a problem when Georgia against Alabama. You just don't have the secondary guys. The guys that he brought in last year aren't quite brought up to speed yet. They're not making a big impact. But even the ones that you had here, a lot of them got hurt over the course of the season. How many would you have brought in because you don't have like more than 5 running backs. You have 3 or 4 quarterbacks. You have what about 15, 18 linemen? I mean, what do you do in the secondary?
Here's the thing. Not only do you have to have them for the secondary, you need them for special teams. You need guys that can come and do things like that. So we basically, if you just went into our defensive back room last year and said, I want you 7 guys to leave. No, I don't want you to leave. I mean, you've got to leave because we don't have, for whatever reason, we lost 7 guys. Say the fire marshal says we can't keep everybody in the room. So you got 7 guys leave that you thought were going to be able to be in that room. To the pros, 2 to the portal. And you can't get those guys back overnight. Then all of a sudden, Nyland Green comes in here. He's almost ready, but then the kid from Texas, I really thought he was going to be ready. The kid that hurt his shoulder, he would have been able to help us. But you got guys like Breeny and Speed and Poole that've been here forever. But they've got depth and they know what to do. But fortunately, we're able to get Kendrick. Fortunately, Keely Ringo comes around. But we just don't have any depth in the secondary right now, and we don't have the talent level congruent to our defense that we do everywhere else on our team. We just don't have it. So we're going to have it now, though. These guys, eyeball tests. I can't wait. I hope a lot of them are I heard by the grapevine there's going to be like anywhere from 12 to 15 of these guys coming in at semester.
Jesus.
And if we can do that, that'll help. But a lot of that has to do with who's going to leave, how many of these guys are going to declare for the draft, who's going to do that. So you got to have the openings for them to come in spring.
Yeah, and that's the thing I think a lot of people are missing on this recruiting class is you've mentioned they'll sign right now. They've got 27 total commitments. I don't think we can count Killebrew in that. So say you go 26, maybe you get one more in Stewart or something like that. That doesn't mean you're done. You can have up to 7 takes from the transfer portal if you've lost 7. So if you're looking at maybe 27 commitments and up to 7 transfers, that's 34, 30 players.
That's whistling Dixie, though.
It's a lot.
I don't want to
changeover.
I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room, but here's the thing that you've got to have. If everybody thinks about, you got 7 transfer guys.
Right.
Okay. Those scholarships can't be for anybody but transfers to count on your 85. So we got to have a transfer guy leave for us to use one of those for a transfer.
But that's my point. That's what I'm saying. You could have 7 guys leave, and now all of a sudden you bring in 7 more. So new faces to your program.
Well, you can do that, but they don't. They're not necessarily counting on your. I guess you can count them on your total number, but you can't go over 85 though.
Oh,
and then mid-year though, you can't take a mid-year guy unless you have a scholarship for him. So like that kid from Tennessee, he can't come in at mid-year. He can't graduate with the hours that he needs. Bowie wanted to come in at semester, and I don't know that we had the ability to take him at this point. It was probably over with anyhow, but he was a mid-year guy. So you got some of these guys that want to sign. You say, well, hey, I'm not going to be able to take you if I can take Singletary, or you know what I mean? So you got to balance it out. You got to eye for an eye on numbers.
So you got the fit issue there too. I hadn't really thought about that as much. All right. Well, hey, Jed, I appreciate you stopping by. We're going to let you go here.
Hey, Jed, do you want to give a quick plug for what you're doing at UGASports.com to wrap up early signing day?
Yeah. It's time to start working on the 23 class, right, Roddy?
Yes.
We got leaderboard and cheat sheet will be forming in the next couple weeks for the 23 class. I'll have that. We'll have, stories, and I'm hopefully in Miami. We'll catch up with a couple of guys down there. Shamar Stewart, Marvin James. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And yeah, man, just shout out to Blayne, Trent, Roddy, what you've done on the recruiting side this week. Ben, all those guys, they've done a great job this week with the scoop and the inside knowledge and all that kind of stuff. So if you want the knowledge, follow us.
We'll see you kiss up.
And if you want funny names of recruits, follow me on Twitter. That was my contribution today.
Roddy, can you give me a little love? Can you give me a little love for suggesting that we have those guys on the show tonight?
Yes, that was a good call.
Hey, we have one more.
Except the problem is we're gonna add Ben on here, and it's probably just go all to hell. So
Ben's coming in.
Yeah, we got Ben on here. So.
Sorry, Roddy, I'm not repping San Jose tonight. The Caps playing the Blackhawks, so I got to rep the Capitals tonight.
Hockey guy. Hey, Ben, we're going to have to go real quick because we don't have a whole lot of time left. I think, but I did want to get your overall thoughts on you've heard most of the show. Give us some of your thoughts on stuff we haven't touched on yet.
I just think overall Georgia hit on their needs. I think when you look at it, like you look at Marvin Jones and saying Georgia needed an outside linebacker, and I think they got arguably the best one in the country. There were only 2 guys that could fill Jordan Davis's shoes potentially, and Travis Shaw and Bear Alexander. They got Bear. So I think when you look at it, they landed a lot of the best players in the country at the key needs, and that's something I think is being overlooked because I know a lot of fans are going to say like, oh, we didn't get Kamari Wilson, or oh, they didn't get that receiver, but overall you hit on most of your needs. And I think you have to look at the class as a whole and say there's only 3 teams in the country that have arguably the number 1 class: Alabama, A&M, and Georgia. All 3 of them are separated from every other class in the country. And when you're in that, I don't know why you would complain. I think Georgia hit it out of the park here today, even with some of the misses.
Very succinct, very, very accurate. Coach, that is one of the issues is when it comes to not getting top flight wide receivers. You got some really good ones. You got some fast guys, some lighting guys, but it's just how hard is it to find that just killer, that other George Pickens?
Well, I know that they really are high on A.D. Mitchell, the potential, and you've seen what he's done this year, and he just thrown in the fire. But it was kind of like a diamond in the rough the way they got Jordan Davis in there to say, hey, and I think this kid from Houston that they got coming in now, they feel like better than A.D. So what's his name, Ben? The kid, the receiver?
Which one that signed today? Chandler Smith out of Florida?
No,
Dylan Bell.
Yeah, Dylan Bell. I mean, that kid there, I know Coach Monken is really high on him. So maybe he doesn't have the star power that some of these other guys do. But I like the way Monken, first of all, I like the way he coaches him. I like the way Hankton does. And I think they've gotten better on technique. So maybe we don't have quite power there as far as what we've got. But I know that our coaches feel good about Dylan Bell even better than they did about A.D. Mitchell. So if he can be as good as A.D. Mitchell, we're in good shape.
Not too shabby at all. And Coach, give me your thoughts on the quarterback situation with Gunnar Stockton. I know you got to see him for like 4 minutes, but I know you've watched some of his tape. You've played quarterback. You've coached quarterback.
I like Gunnar's ability to just off the field when you see the way he does with these 7-on-7 kids and the way he's kind of like a Pied Piper, the way the kids follow him around. And he's got that mentality of being a coach's son, grew up around football and kind of like Brock did over there at Prince Avenue. So I think our quarterback room is going to be good. We'll see what happens. But, I got cut off last week when I was because of my internet or something happened. But I really think that Brock Vandegrift has had a tremendous year with the scout team. And by that, I mean, the times I go out there, he's trying to challenge the defense. He's looking at words. He's studying other teams. He's a great athlete. He's got a big arm, and he doesn't know our offense. Beck didn't know our offense the first spring, so he's had a chance to learn it. But those two guys, as freshman quarterbacks, not many people got two better ones than those two. So I'm pretty fired up about those two guys.
How do you learn Georgia's – and I just don't understand the mechanisms here. How do you learn Georgia's offense when each week you are practicing someone else's offense because you're the scout team quarterback?
He's not learning
hours in the day.
He's not learning it on the field, but he does go to the meetings and he gets all of that meeting time. And the one thing Kirby does that I think that a lot of coaches won't do is, when you go good against good, like 1 versus 1 team run or team pass, and then 2s go against 2, he always lets the 3s get 5 or 6 plays and lets 1 and 2 catch your breath a little bit. So the coaches are seeing the 3s. The 3s feel like the coaches are looking at him besides just being a scout team guy, and it's good for morale. So when he's been 3 versus 3 and he's doing his stuff, he's improved immensely there too. So, and Beck gets to do that too. But I'm happy with Brock's. Of course, I'm not the quarterback coach, but he's got all the tools. Both those guys do. Don't you think he do, Ben? What do you think?
I think Gunnar has the tool. I think Brock, though, long term, if you had to ask me between the two, I just think he has more ceiling with his mobility and his arm. But I think both guys, you can't go wrong with either of these quarterbacks back-to-back years. It's hard to pull off, especially nowadays with the transfer portal, to get 2 really good quarterbacks back-to-back classes. It's just unheard of.
Well, and I think that's an important point with the context of going with Dwan Mathis and Carson Beck in comparison to what I think the potential is with Vandegrift and now Stockton. I think Georgia's in a much better spot than it was, even a year ago.
I agree.
Yeah, and comes back, and then one of those 2 guys, JT or Stetson. I mean, we're okay there. I know our offensive line is going to be better next year. I mean, depth-wise, knowledge-wise, everything. Tight ends. I mean, who's got 2 tight ends like those guys? And Fitzpatrick probably going to go pro, but And then receivers, all those young guys have come along, and people like to have Vlad McConkey. I can tell you that. A lot of people.
And again,
Ben, I want to get you out of here on this one because we can sneak in a couple questions for Coach Donnan from our chat. Georgia potentially losing a lot of starters on defense. I say potentially, it's almost certain for next year. Of this incoming class, who are give me a couple names of guys that you think that you've seen tape of that might be instant impact players? I'm not saying necessarily starters, but who can fans think from this class will be a big factor in next year's defense?
I think next year you have to go with Bear Alexander because he's different than all the other D linemen. I think he's going to play nose tackle, but he's not just a space eater. I think also Starks, given the need at safety, and he's as good, especially as an athlete. He can play any position in the secondary, and Kirby Smart loves his DBs more than anything. So I think Malachi Starks. Then Marvin Jones and Jalen Walker. Maybe Roddy, it's a bias here with Jalen Walker because we both interviewed him a lot.
You're biased.
Yeah, I mean, he's the brightest kid I've ever interviewed. I mean, he's SEC media dates. He's smart, instinctive. He can play anywhere. He's going to see the field next.
He's a coach's son.
Yeah, he
plays tight end too. He plays tight end too.
I just, it's going to be hard to keep him off the field. So I think those four. I think long term though, even though Darius Smith hasn't signed yet, he's one to keep an eye on long term because I think he's 6'6", can run a legit 4.4. I think like as an edge rusher, like he is as an athlete, he's not polished yet.
Are you sure about that? 4.4.
Oh, I'm sure about that. He's as athletically freakish as I've seen. He's just
be the only guy in Georgia history that ever ran a 4.4 at a defensive end. So I mean, I'm not trying to challenge you, but 4.4 legit.
I think.
Hey, wait, Cornelius Washington and track spikes, coach.
That's good. I hope you're right. He's faster than Adam Anderson and Nolan Smith.
He reminds me like Adam Anderson. He to me is similar, but he's a little bit taller. He's got more frame, which is
that's great. That's great.
He only take 3 steps and he's done his 40. I love it.
Is he definitely coming here?
Yeah. He's just signing in February. I think it's because he's signing with his team.
Yeah. Okay. Good job on that.
Ben, do you want to give a plug to the Vault and your work over there on your way out?
Yeah, so over on the Vault right now, I know a lot of people have been asking about updates today on the recruit. So right now, everything seems quiet until the 8th with Miller and Ernest Green, which I both expected Georgia if those are asking. So right now, just stay tuned because we'll be starting on 2023 real soon with some updates on that. Blayne will have some stuff tomorrow, and we'll have some stories on those two as it leads up in the next 2 weeks to the All-American game.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Good
Thanks,
job.
Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
Appreciate it.
All right, I know you had some questions there, but I do want to mention 2 of our other sponsors. I want to mention our friends over at Academia Brewing Company. They have their 2 times IQ. That is a fantastic beer if you are into the IPAs. And an absolute award winner. It's a big hit. So swing by there if you want to try it. Just to let you know, they have run out of it in the past, but they have it on tap now. You can get the cans to take home with you. Of course, tomorrow night, December 16th, they're having a percentage night to support the Cottage. The Cottage is a fantastic charity that you could help out. So if you want to swing by over there the 16th tomorrow and get some of that beer and have a fantastic meal, that's what you get with our friends over at Academia Brewing Company. Also a great place to watch the games. If you want to watch any Falcons games, any Georgia games.
Nobody wants to watch the Falcons games. You know
hey,
that.
They won, baby. Shut up. So they, if you want to watch those games on Sunday, or if it's a Sunday, you just want to go over for the beer and biscuit brunch. They have that from 10 to 3 o'clock, Saturday to Sunday. Maybe that's a better use of your time on a Sunday, but I'm just telling you that is a fantastic brunch. It is. The biscuits are great. You know, you get some really crappy biscuits out there. People say, "Oh, we haven't had biscuits," and then you can tell that they've been frozen and they just warmed them up. These guys make great biscuits. You'll absolutely enjoy them. And of course, every Thursday they have live music, and Tuesdays they have trivia. So swing by our friends at Academia Brewing Company. Go see Matt Casey out there, Georgia grad. His business is blowing up. You want to be a part of it. You want to try all the great beer and all the great food when you get a chance. And
I would say tell him Radi Nabulsi sent you, but Roddy's probably already going to be there, especially if it's Sunday morning and he can drink.
Well,
so,
yeah, I mean,
I'm giving up your secrets.
I work hard for that, you know. But I do want to share. I'm going to do a quick screen share here because I want you guys to see this. This is really neat. Also, our friends over at Athens Ford, they're delivering the bikes. We've been talking about this a lot. All the bikes that they offer, every time you go out to Athens Ford, up until yesterday, if you bought a vehicle out there, new or used, they would donate a bike to the Athens Area Humane Society. Athens Area, which one was it? Not the Humane Society. I'm giving the dogs. I give them to, I forget, Salvation Army. Lose my damn mind. Excuse me. So they do the Salvation Army ones. You can see they had the giant Christmas tree out there, the Georgia G tree with all the footballs and
that's
all the
cool
stuff on it. I told folks, look, go out there and get your picture taken in front of it. You'll absolutely love it. They have delivered 140 bicycles. 140 bikes. That's just
well done.
Amazing to the Salvation Army of Athens, Georgia. So just want to give those guys a shout out for what they do. It means a lot to us that they are a sponsor of our show, and they do great charity work. And plus, they got Broncos. Think about it. They sold 140 vehicles. There's a lot of lots don't have 140 cars on there. A lot of them don't even have 14 cars on the lot. Try go out to Chevy or Toyota right now. You are out of luck. But our friends at Athens Ford, they are loaded. Hundreds and hundreds of vehicles on the lot. You need to go see them.
Brent Tucker from our Facebook page says, Coach, if you had to pick a mouth-watering recruit from this class,
good question.
Who would it be? And I know you could pick a ton of guys here, but is there just anybody that immediately, if it's a get-off-the-bus guy, if it's just someone that caught your eye, you can give multiple names if you want.
Yeah, the only reason I say this is because I had the personal interaction with the three guys, C.J. Washington, Marlon Jones, and Michael Williams. Just got a chance to meet them and be around them. And I'm thinking if I was coaching Georgia, these are three kids that I'd like to have go to class, be around the rest of the student body, which is okay. But the one thing that I'd like for them to be would be kicking the shit out of somebody on the football field. Because they're going to do that, man. These guys are physical-looking guys now. And that was a bad word to use, but I think it's the only way you can do it. You just can't kick them and you're out of somebody. You got to kick them. So these guys are big, physical-looking stallions now. I mean, just make your mouth water. Unbelievable stallions. And just perfect. I mean, I was trying to find – I was telling – when I got back, I was telling this guy about them. I said, these guys, yes, sir. And boy, I can't wait to get here. And God, I can't wait to play for Georgia. And I mean, instead of, I'm a big stud, I mean, so I just want to transpose to Georgia fans that this coach that we have, he's got the ability to delineate the really good kids from the turds. And we don't have many around here. I'm just telling you. You can't win with those kind of guys. And that's why we don't have many guys leaving. They don't want to leave here because they get treated right. So I would say all three of those guys make my mouth water till it salivates. So
here's the kind of class that Georgia had. We've gone 1 hour and 3 minutes, and I don't think we've even mentioned Branson Robinson.
He makes it. I mean, good Lord, he makes it. And I think we got to mention a couple guys here that just did an unbelievable job, the whole staff. But Dale Williams got those two backs. And then this kid was going to Southern Cal. I mean, they changed coaches and all, but they put Dale Williams on Michael Williams. Dale McGee on Michael Williams and turned his ass in a New York minute. And that was the way we needed him. I mean, guy's an unbelievable recruiter. And you talk about position recruiting and all, but I tell you, a guy behind the scenes, Todd Hartley, he was in with that Singletary's family, and Muschamp went down there and died, but Dan Lanning. I mean, these guys just a tremendous job on Marvin Jones. I mean, 3 weeks ago we weren't even in the picture hardly, and just the way we turned him around. So Trey Scott on Barry Alexander and Hankton. All these guys, Luke, I mean, they just and Schumann, linebackers, those two linebackers, C.J. Washington and Walker. What's his first name? Walker.
Jalen Walker.
Jalen Walker, that's another. I'm gonna add him to my mouth-watering guy because he makes my mouth water maybe more than the other three. So I mean, I could just go on how long we got, but I saw these guys in person. When you see them in person, and people say, "Hey, boy, you know, one thing you do is overreact about recruits." I don't overreact. I don't. It's not. That's not my style. I mean, I'm not going to give anybody their due. It's like I told Ben. I said, "When's the last time?" I mean, 4-4. I mean, I hope he's right. I hope that's not just. But I don't overreact about play. And you can cut me up about coaching. I've made a lot of mistakes in coaching and made too many in recruiting.
No, that's true. I'd want to answer that. My two mouth-watering guys was, again, love Jalen Walker, one of the best interviews I've ever done. Went up for his commitment, set a camera on him. Thought it was the best 7-8 minutes interview we may have ever had at UGASports.com. And I've been doing this for a long, long time. He is lights out, one of the top kids I've ever interviewed. But we don't talk about Branson Robinson. It's almost Georgia's getting another 5-star quarterback. And this is something Jed and I had mentioned because I was explaining to Jed what signing day would be like. I said, Jed, you look at that class. You got the number one class in the country right now with Georgia. If they miss on 2 or 3 of these kids tomorrow, like I think they're going to, people are going to be upset about the class. He's like, well, why? He just didn't get it. I said, it's the last guy. Now, if those guys, you know, Kamari Wilson, Shamar James, Dayan Bowie had committed to another team a week ago, and on Saturday or on Wednesday, you got Jaheim Singletary, and you got Branson Robinson, and you got Marvin James, it would be considered the greatest recruiting day of all time. It's all about timing. It's all about timing. So when coach says, "Hey, I only worry about them long enough to pour the water through my hands," that's it. Hey, they're the others now.
You ain't doing anything about it.
But again, it's all about timing. That colors the perception of this. People are worried about losing a safety when you have the best secondary class we've probably ever seen. But mouthwatering players, give me Branson Robinson. That kid is lights out, and Jaheim Singletary.
Arms.
I can't tell you.
What else you got?
I want to echo a point that you made, Coach, and we can wrap really after this if we want to, about Dell McGee. So when I was working in TV in Columbus, Georgia, when Dell McGee announced that he was leaving Carver to become an analyst at Auburn, I was the TV reporter that interviewed him at the basketball game at Carver that night to see why he was doing it. And when I tell you that when Dell McGee walks in anywhere in Columbus, it makes a difference. Like that, he is royalty in that part of the state. And I say this because did you see what he tweeted out when Michael Williams signed with Georgia? It was a picture of Michael on his official visit standing beside Jarvis Jones, who also works for the team. Dell McGee's at Godfather status, y'all. His guys are getting guys.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, Jarvis helps us recruit. I mean, Georgia
first round pick.
Yeah, I mean,
you got another question?
No, I'm just saying he was a first round pick with Jarvis Jones. And so that recruits in itself is that, hey, look at what he did at Georgia and look what you can do too.
Absolutely.
We pretty much touched on all the questions. I want to be sure we talk about Branson Robinson. We could go on and on about this class. We didn't get much into Cole Spear, who I think is a solid player. There's a ton of dudes here.
Yeah, that's just it. When you got 27 guys on there, you can't go through all of them. It'd take too long, you know. I mean, we didn't mention Jordan Bryant James out of Murfreesboro. I've had some guys go over watch him run. This guy put up crazy numbers.
He didn't sign today, though, did he?
No, he's not. He hadn't signed yet, but he's going to be a part of this class.
He ate up the whole state of Tennessee. He won the state championship, didn't he?
I think he did. Then, I mean, we didn't talk about Carlton Madden Jr. That is a good-looking player off the hoof too, Coach.
Yeah,
I like him.
Yeah.
And then yesterday was it 5 o'clock in the afternoon? They're like, hey, signing day's already started. Welcome Brett Thorson out of Melbourne, Australia. You got a punter from down under.
What'd you do? Send Trent Smallwood to cover that and he hadn't gotten back?
Coach, if somebody need to go down there, I would be willing to make that trip.
Yeah, you know, there's more out there than the Outback Steakhouse. You wouldn't like it.
No, hey, I'm not going to Australia. It's nothing but giant poisonous spiders and snakes. I'm never going to Australia.
Hey, I said Brett Thorson needs to hook up with Ryan Rankin and do some hog hunting out here.
Ryan will
Good,
do it.
good.
Ryan will do it with just a knife and no shirt on. That guy's psychotic.
Hey, next time y'all hear from us, we'll be previewing Georgia versus Michigan and kind of turning the page toward that as Georgia's in the college football playoff. Crazy month for the Dogs,
So,
but an exciting
do
one.
we have a show next week or not? Or when's the next? Is it next week?
Next week will be the 20. Wouldn't be the 22nd. It'll be the 21st. So we'll do one more next week, and then we'll take off for a little bit.
And then we do one prior. Okay.
Yep. All
right. Well, we'll get to wish him a Merry Christmas next week then. But
absolutely.
That's
good.
good.
I know you're busy. If not, I'll make Dayne do it by himself.
No, I'm not too busy. Hey, listen, I got a countdown to this show every week. I mean, what else am I going to do? I mean, I got nothing. I mean, I'm ready.
You answer all these phone calls from coaches in the NFL and college asking questions. I've taken you to rock. I've seen it.
You remember that show we did when, here's Barry Switzer calling. Let me get this for a second. Okay, yeah.
No, that was just luck. But
we need to have a beep button ready for.
Yeah, I do think one thing that I want to make very clear tonight that I want to congratulate Dan Lanning on getting the job at Oregon. I mean, it's very difficult to get a head coaching job, particularly usually when you get one, it's because the team is down and you're rebuilding and everything. But for him to get a job of that magnitude, a team that was really in the college playoff hunt until they lost those 2 games to Utah, is just a tremendous opportunity for him. And I hate it for Georgia, but it also shows you the quality of guys that Kirby's bringing in here. I remember when he was hired 4 years ago, Daryl Dickey, that I coached, worked with him at Memphis, and he called me and he said, "Coach, I hope you can reach out to Dan and tell him that you know me and do anything you can to help him and his family." He said he's a star. And it's pretty obvious once you're around the guy, he's just magnetic. He does a great job with the players and the coaches, coaching the coaches. He blends in with Coach Smart real well. And, we're going to have to replace him. But, you just see guys like Tucker and Pittman and even Beamer surprised me what they did this year. But that shows you the quality of guys Kirby's having on his staff. And people are looking to our staff just like they look to the dictators. I mean, they go for guys that are winning and know the system. And so congratulations to Dan. And I hated that it came out like it did, and really a betrayal by the guy that gave the information out. I mean, you can't blame it, but you don't give information out like that when you're supposed to be giving a reference to somebody, to a committee or something. So I hated that happened and screwed it up for him a little bit, but it ended up okay. It showed that he was their man. But it was a great weekend for Georgia football to get it for Dan. I'm happy for him.
Absolutely. That's quite the coaching tree Kirby Smart's putting together right now with 4 head coaches out there who are looking to do pretty well. Hey, and your boy Spencer Rattler is going to be at South Carolina, Coach.
Well, I think Spencer Rattler is a good 7-on-7 player. Are they going to play 7-on-7?
No, I think Georgia's going to have a few more out there. I think it'll be 11.
The equivalent of, yeah.
That's bad. I mean, good for Shane. Stogner at tight end is going to help him. He's a good player, and Spencer's a good player. But he can't move that great, and he's a little. I mean, we'll see what happens. I think if they can win 6 games again next year, it'll be really something. I don't know that they can, but we'll see how it happens. But they beat Florida and beat Auburn. I would have never thought that.
There you go. So with that, we were going to end the show there. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I know it was a different time of the night for you folks. It's not what you normally do, but I'm glad to see we had so many people tune in, and it actually makes my heart very happy. We'll have to do more of these in the evening, and we'll look into that coming here in the new year.
Well, you got to stop by 8:30 because I got to play bingo over here at the rest stop in a little bit.
Go to Toppers is what you're saying. I know it. I know what the code is. All right. For Coach Donnan and Dayne Young, I'm Radi Nabulsi. Y'all take care. We'll see you next time.